You know what? There is a voice inside you that isn't yours. Yet it has shaped everything you've ever felt, believed, or become. It doesn't shout. It doesn't command. It whispers. Quietly, persistently, insidiously. It may have started with your mother, but it didn't end there. This is the mother complex. And until you face her, not the woman, but the inner image, you will keep living a life that was never truly yours. Before she ever held you, before she ever spoke your name, before she ever looked into your eyes, she shaped your soul. Carl Jung understood this truth better than most. The mother is not only a person, she is an archetype, one of the oldest, most primal forces embedded in the human psyche. She exists not just in our memories, but in our myths, our dreams, and even the way we see ourselves. She is the nurturer, the protector, but also the devourer, the one who gives life and sometimes takes it away. This duality, creation and destruction, warmth and suffocation, love and control, is what Jung called the paradox of the Great Mother. And when this inner image becomes distorted by pain, trauma, or unmet needs, it forms what he described as the mother complex. A powerful psychological force that continues to shape us long after childhood ends. We don't just carry our mothers with us. We live through them, often without even realizing it. Jung saw the mother archetype as a universal psychic pattern, inherited rather than invented, emerging again and again in dreams, myths, and personal relationships. She is not bound to biology. She is timeless, eternal, encoded into the very soul of humanity. She appears in religious symbols, in nature, in mythology, in the earth herself. She is Demeter and Persephone, Mary and Medea, Kali and Isis. She is both the cradle and the grave. And within each of us, she lives on, not always as the woman who raised us, but as the psychic residue of early impressions, emotional imprints, and ancestral patterns. When we confuse the personal mother with the archetypal mother, we fall into projection. We cast our inner wounds onto partners, mentors, spiritual figures, anyone carrying the symbolic weight of the mother. And so we repeat, relive, reenact. Because true healing of the mother wound cannot occur at the surface level. Jung insisted we must move beyond personal grievances and into symbolic vision. When we view our mother not only as the woman who hurt us, but as a vessel for ancient forces, when we recognize that our pain is not just personal, but archetypal, we open the door to deep, lasting transformation. There is a part of the mother that few dare to speak about, the shadow side. She does not scream. She does not rage. She simply is a presence that clings, that smothers, that makes love feel like control and care feel like suffocation. Jung saw this shadow mother as one of the most feared and misunderstood figures in the psyche. She appears in dreams as a monstrous force, in myths as the goddess who swallows her children, and in real life as the lingering voice that tells you, you're not allowed to leave. You're bad if you walk away. You owe me your life. This is psychological infantilization, where the adult ego remains bound to the mother's emotional world, unable to fully separate, unable to breathe freely. And here's the tragedy. Many people spend their entire lives trying to escape this invisible prison, never realizing they've already been living inside it. But the shadow mother is not evil. She is wounded. She is fear made flesh. And until we stop projecting her onto partners, mentors, and spiritual figures, and begin seeing her clearly within ourselves, we remain trapped in cycles of guilt, dependency, and emotional repetition. She shows up in dreams as dragons guarding sacred treasure, as goddesses who refuse to let go, as the silent figure watching from behind closed doors. In myth, she is Demeter clinging to Persephone, Hecate whispering curses in the dark, Lilith banished and bitter. She is the devouring mother, not out of malice, but out of fear. And in real life, she is the mother who needed you more than you needed her. The one whose love came with strings, whose approval had conditions, whose silence was punishment, whose presence was smothering. She is the reason you learned that your worth was tied to how much you gave, that your freedom was betrayal, that your voice was too loud, that your joy was dangerous. And because of her, you grew up believing that love requires sacrifice, and that self-abandonment is the price of belonging. Jung warned that unless we bring this unconscious dynamic into awareness, we will unconsciously reenact it throughout life. You may find yourself magnetized to relationships that mirror your mother's emotional terrain, emotionally distant, controlling, enmeshed, or abandoning. You may struggle with autonomy, craving freedom, yet terrified of it. You may hear her voice in your head before you speak, before you act, before you dare to take up space. And all the while, you believe this is just who you are. But it's not. It's the shadow mother, still holding you, still shaping you, still whispering, "You are not allowed to leave." Even if your mother is gone, physically, emotionally, or both, her voice still echoes. It lives inside you, not as memory, but as structure, as architecture, as a silent dictator whispering from the shadows of your unconscious mind. Jung called this the internal mother. The psychic imprint formed in early childhood, shaping how you see yourself, how you set boundaries, and how you relate to the world. If your early experience was nurturing, this internal figure becomes a source of strength and self-worth. But if your mother was absent, rejecting, or enmeshed, the internal mother becomes a sabotaging force, a critic, a controller, a ghost that haunts your choices. You may find yourself repeating patterns you can't explain, choosing relationships that feel familiar, even when they hurt, feeling unworthy, unseen, or afraid to take up space, because somewhere deep inside, you're still trying to please a mother who could never be pleased. And the worst part? You mistake her voice for your own. This is the birthplace of the inner critic, not mere insecurity, but the internalized criticism of a mother who once withheld approval or used affection as currency. Her voice may whisper, "You're too much. You're not enough. Don't speak. Don't shine. Stay small. Stay safe." These messages are not just thoughts. They are beliefs, imprints, myths encoded into your soul. And until you make them conscious, you will continue to act them out. Jung believed that when this voice is mistaken for the self, the individual becomes enslaved to a ghost, confusing inherited programming with inner truth. You may project this inner mother onto lovers, teachers, bosses, friends, suddenly no longer seeing people for who they are, but through the emotionally charged lens of your unmet maternal longing. You expect them to heal wounds they did not cause. You react to them with disproportionate fear, neediness, or rage. You chase the fantasy of being chosen, nurtured, validated, while unconsciously attracting partners who replicate the very emotional dynamics you are trying to escape. The negative mother, unintegrated, becomes a filter on reality. And the result? Confusion, disillusionment, emotional repetition. In its most destructive form, the internal mother becomes a psychic vampire, not metaphorically, but energetically. She drains your vitality. She suppresses your instincts. She clouds your creative fire. This manifests as chronic exhaustion, emotional flatness, a fear of choosing boldly, or an inability to make decisions without guilt. You feel alive, yet estranged from life. Jung saw this as a possession, a kind of inner colonization, where the soul is no longer sovereign, but governed by a frozen image from the past. And yet, paradoxically, we remain loyal to her, even if she wounded us, even if she was cold or cruel. The psyche clings to the image, hoping that if we just stay small enough, obedient enough, wounded enough, we might finally win her love. But Jung called this a tragic illusion. The internal mother is not evolving. She is not real. She is a fixed psychic imprint. No matter how much we contort ourselves to earn her affection, we will only sink deeper into self-abandonment. To heal, Jung insisted we must initiate a conscious separation, not from our physical mother, but from the inner image that holds our soul hostage. This means naming the mother complex for what it is. It means facing the inner figure directly, through active imagination, inner dialogue, dreams, and symbolic ritual. It requires us to allow the exiled feelings to rise: rage, grief, betrayal, longing. It invites us to reclaim the voice we buried, the boundaries we feared to draw, the power we once surrendered to survive. To heal, you must do something terrifying. You must let go, not of your mother, but of the image of her that still rules your soul. Jung called this process individuation, the symbolic death of the child and the birth of the sovereign self. It is not rebellion. It is not rejection. It is awakening. True separation is not physical. It is psychological, spiritual. It means stepping into the darkness of your grief, facing the rage buried beneath years of silence, and allowing yourself to mourn the mother you never had. This journey is painful. It brings emptiness, confusion, collapse. But it is also sacred, because only when the ego dies, when the illusion of safety shatters, can the soul begin to rise. And when it does, you no longer live in reaction to the past. You live in alignment with your truth. How do you know if the mother wound still holds you captive? Jung believed that until we bring the unconscious into awareness, it will continue to shape our lives. And we will call it fate. Here are the signs. A relentless inner critic that whispers, "You're not enough." Fear of autonomy. Longing for freedom but terrified to claim it. Guilt that feels ancient, inherited, almost sacred. People-pleasing that masks a deeper fear of abandonment. Attracting relationships that mirror the emotional terrain of your past. A core belief that you are unworthy of love unless you earn it. Suppression of creativity, fearing that your voice will be judged. Physical symptoms, anxiety, fatigue, chronic pain. The body's cry for healing. Spiritual alienation, feeling disconnected from the feminine, from intuition, from belonging. These are not personality flaws. They are messages, cries from the soul, invitations to return home, to yourself. Healing is not about erasing the past. It is about reclaiming your power. Jung taught that true transformation begins with confrontation, not with the outer mother, but with the inner one. The one who still speaks through your fears, your shame, your silence. Through active imagination, journaling, dream work, and ritual, you enter into dialogue with the shadow mother. You listen, you speak, you grieve, and slowly the grip loosens. What emerges is not hatred, but clarity. Not blame, but understanding. Not forgiveness, but freedom. Because integration is not about becoming good, it's about becoming whole. In the end, this journey is not about your mother. It is about you. It is about returning to the deepest part of yourself. The part that was silenced, abandoned, forgotten. Jung believed that only through this confrontation could we awaken to the fullness of who we are. To step beyond the mother complex is to reclaim your authority, your creativity, your voice. You begin to parent yourself, to trust your instincts, to honor your needs, to create not from fear, but from wonder. And in doing so, you break the chain, not just for yourself, but for generations to come. Carl Jung once said, "Your vision will become clear only when you look into your own heart." This is your invitation, to look inward, to face the mother within, to reclaim your story, to become the author of your own life. No one else is coming to save you, because now you are the healer. Now you are the light. If this message stirred something in you, if even one word mirrored your inner truth, I invite you to share your story below. Are you still walking the path back to yourself? Or have you begun to rewrite your narrative? And if someone you love is silently struggling with the illusion that love must hurt, or that self-abandonment is the price of connection, share this with them. Let's reach the ones who need to remember. Real love does not ask you to shrink. True connection does not demand sacrifice. And the most vital relationship you will ever have is the one with your own inner truth. Thank you for showing up, not just to this video, but to your inner work. Until next time, I'll see you on the path.